So, Baba, pranams to you and pranams at the lotus feet of Guru Maharaj Sri Swamiji. Uh, my today's topic is universe in a hair, which is one of the story from Yoga Vashishta. Baba, do you
Mhm.
want me to tell the story in a very few brief
Yeah,
words?
briefly, if you tell, I will understand the context, then I'll be
So, Baba,
able to comment.
yeah, Baba, this is a story comes in the Yoga Vashishta. So this one spiritual seeker who is a disciple of one of famous guru, and he goes to the guru and he asks him the question, so, that master, what is the universe? And the master takes a hair from from his body and says, start splitting and you will see the universe. So it's the it's a metaphor which is like, the universe is a perception.
Mm.
It's not external, it's internal. Universe exists the way we perceive.
Yeah, this is what we also keep telling, like while talking about rebirths or one trying to frame a destiny for themselves. So I always tell, if you are more positive, you can be able to shape a positive destiny for yourself. And if you are negative, you can be shaping a negative destiny for yourself. For that also I tell the clue that this world also appears to you based on your attitude, your mental tendencies, whether either as a good or a bad, either as a happy or unhappy. So like that, the perception. So whatever you perceive, it appears so. And sometimes I have even told, nobody really knows what this appearance is. We
Yes,
all,
Baba.
in all fields, whether in spirituality or science, have all imagined terminologies for sake of our own understanding and communication, and
Mhm,
that takes shape, that becomes the thing. Like for example, apple is there. This
mhm.
apple, it is apple because you all perceive it as an apple. Otherwise,
Yes, Baba.
nobody really knows what it is.
Mhm,
We named it time immemorial, maybe, that it is a fruit and recognized it as an apple. So everybody
mhm,
accepted. So everybody communicate in that name only. So that is apple. Suppose
mhm,
if I come and tell, okay, this is not apple, this is divine, people may even laugh. So, but it is the perception. The same
mhm,
thing, if we perceive, it can be divine for us. Like for a
mhm,
one person, it could be simply a rock. For another person who perceives the divinity, it could be a Shivlingam. That
mhm,
type of perception is what we get to see this world.
mhm.
Further, we can discuss as you ask questions.
Yes. So, Baba, here with this, the first thing comes to the mind is the you always talk about the consciousness, and this entire everything around us is a consciousness. But whereas we see when we see ourselves as an individual being. So when everything is a consciousness, is the separation is in the consciousness as a jivatma or as an individual being, or it's also just my short time perception which makes me separate from the
Actually,
consciousness.
there is no difference. It is
Mhm,
the oneness that exists everywhere. Like the common example that is given now, several earthen pots, if you keep, inside is the same space. Yet, when you perceive the earthen pots, earthen pitchers, so you perceive also seven different pieces of space. That becomes Jivatama type. One big one space is there, and that space inside the earthen pitcher becomes like Jivatma. That's what we perceive. In the same way, in all the physical bodies, everywhere, it is that one supreme, one consciousness exists. Yet, because in every physical body, we will take up only the human beings for a while, just for sake of understandings. The same consciousness has come in contact with the brain's reflections and accepted and assumed by taking that perception of whatever the brain has reflected. So thus an individuality has appeared. That's what I tell, individual imagined self, which does not really exist. But if you have imagined, you exist. Just like you always perceive yourself based on the physical body's personality, a name would have been given by parents or you would have assumed. So that becomes a personality. So you become that. So even when we talk also, people would like to perceive us through this physical body only. They know only through this physical body of what Babaji is. Actually, what Babaji is aware of the truth of the self, others cannot perceive because they perceive only based on their brain's help, whatever they can perceive. So, like that, this becomes limited only because of the perception. Otherwise, it is unlimited and the oneness is there always. Like you try to see only the space, that which is all pervaded, but if you get into every matter which appears to be different individual things, whether it is human beings or animals or any other matter for it, whether it is exhibiting any consciousness or not, yet it is there, the consciousness is there, but it doesn't appear because we perceive only the matter. I have always told, when you enter a room, you seldom notice the space in the room. All the pillar, walls, fans, people, tables, like this, everything attracts your attention immediately, and you perceive that one with a name, and you identify them, and you totally ignore the space also is there. So if you perceive and try to watch this space is simply all pervaded. It's not simply at one place. You cannot tell that the space exists only here and not here. So that type of perception is what I keep talking also in my talks or answers.
So, Baba, ultimately, the world is a projection of our mind. Am I understanding?
Yeah, just now, if we tell this one, people might not be able to grasp the actual meaning because this universe currently is very huge compared to our physical body or our mind also, even potency. So we try to tell this universe is the creation of a higher consciousness, just like your mind is there, that your mind is your consciousness, and everything that you have created is within your mind. That within your mind is your perception. So, like that, when you reach the higher consciousness, you will be able to experience this universe is the perception of that higher consciousness. The ultimate truth is much beyond, which simply exists in itself, which is recognized as Parabrahman in the Mahasamadhi.
Baba, just another question comes out from this. You said that the higher consciousness, which is the created, and for me, my mind is onto the means again. In my understanding, is there some separation in both, or it's again ultimately the one? It's me who is
Actually, it
sitting.
is the one, the separation is not there, but the same consciousness has trapped itself inside the body with illusion of imagination. due to the
Mhm.
brain's reflections. That's what has happened. Something like the same space has trapped itself in imagination inside the earthen picture, whereas it is totally free. The same
Mhm.
space which is inside the earthen picture is outside also. In the same way,
Yes.
the same consciousness which you might perceive inside your body is outside also. This you can realize only when you experience the samadhi and then merge with the self. So that is in between this experience happens. So that's when you will understand ki it is all the oneness, simply oneness. There is no difference. There is no different personalities. It is the same thing which behaves in a good way at one place, in a bad way at one place, and this good and bad also because of the perception.
So, Baba, you again, you give the example of the earthen pots. When I think about it, the mind again imagines the space inside and outside of those earthen pots. So, uh, and when I imagine, it imagines the earthen pot and the size of the earthen pot. So here comes, is the imagination of the space outside the earthen pot, means this vast one undivided space which exists, or the space inside the earthen pots, both ultimately is my imagination, and it comes as long as I am in duality. So, is it possible to experience this undivided space by the mind, or the mind becomes one with with it? What's the secret?
Mind, as long as it is into imaginations,
Mhm.
when the imaginations are there, we recognize it as mind. So
Yes.
it cannot experience the oneness vast of the space or the ultimate truth because it is binding itself to its own imaginations, and that
Mm.
imagination is limited within itself only. It gets to see a smaller picture only. Just like you would have imagined yourself into this physical body that you are.
Mm.
Whereas you are simply all pervaded, you are not actually binded by the physical body, yet you have binded yourself by an imagination of personality and individual imagined self. So you perceive everything based on this physical body as you. That's what we call it as selfish and narrow mindedness. So if
Mm.
the security of your body is threatened, then only you act upon. Otherwise, you won't realize anything at all what is happening. So that is how mind cannot understand or experience the oneness as long as it is the mind. It has to give up all its imaginations. So then it automatically becomes aware of itself. Its attention turns and it gets absorbed into the actual oneness.
So, Baba, is it possible to be in the world, to live in the world, but at the same time uh, live without getting affected by the relativity of the world or by
Yeah,
the world?
if you stop imagining anything about yourself, then automatically you are one with that one, then you can remain unaffected also.
So, Baba, please tell the secret how one can be in the world but not by the world.
It is the body and the brain which helps
Mhm.
you to be in the world. Just like you are on the drama stage, you are very well aware who you are, and whatever you are going to behave on the stage, you should be very well aware that you are only acting. But that is the skill. When you act
Mhm.
upon, it must appear perfect and realistic for the audience.
Mhm.
That is the skill of the actor as long
Mhm.
as he is on the stage. But the actor himself or herself is well aware that he is acting. and is only on the actual personality is totally different, not the one that he is acting on the stage. In this way, a yogi also lives in this world. He is well aware what the self is because he has experienced the truth by clearing the mind of its imaginations through the sadhana, what you call it as meditation and tapas. So he has burnt that habits of the mind which was giving it an individual imagined self. Every word is important, you all must pay attention. It was imagining an individual imagined self. Due to its imagination effects, that which a yogi has stopped it. Thus, he has become aware of what he is. But now, he is in the world as long as the body is there. He appears to be in the world, in fact, because through the body, he might be eating some food. Through the body, he might be talking something. He might be answering a question, or he might be doing any such thing. All this appears for the people who perceive in their own way. They think that Babaji is this body and Babaji is talking. Whereas I do not imagine anything to talk. When you ask the question, spontaneously that comes out. Until then, though today morning I saw universe in a hair, I didn't know what it meant. I have forgotten what I would have read in Yoga Vasistha. So I was just waiting. I had no imagination about that at all. I had no answer. I didn't have had to prepare anything. But the moment you told the context and the story, so then I got it. Spontaneously, the flow started coming in. Okay, this is what it is.
Yes, Baba. I had to prepare, Baba. It's so I chose the subject, but I had to prepare myself. So, Baba, here comes. You said that you live in the world, but uh, again you have to. So, what's the secret? Is the detachment and non-reactiveness in the world? You know, because when we are in the world, there is automatic attachment and reactivity related to the actions and means anything around us. Or so does being indifferent to the world, does it make any help? Or
Not actually indifferent. Once you are a yogi, it is natural for you. There is no need of a detachment also. Attachment and detachment are two equal and opposite words. When one is there, the other becomes important. So, yogi has reason about these two dualities. There is neither attachment nor detachment. If the detachment also is there, so one becomes attached to that detachment. Oh, I have to remain detached. So that
yes,
becomes an attachment again. So, but
yes,
that imagination is not there for a yogi. So he simply goes on in this body, but nothing sits in the mind. A mind is totally silent and consciousness now. Nothing seriously gets absorbed, nothing serious. Just like I keep telling, it's like you write on a white paper, instantly it gets erased and it doesn't stay as a thing. But for a person, for you, an apple is shown. This is apple means that sits so solidly in your mind. Okay, this is apple. So for me,
yes.
such a thing doesn't sit at all. So thus, it is totally, supremely peaceful. Simply. So that's when some people ask question, do you feel affected when somebody is suffering? Do you feel, do you have any such desires to stop this world, the wars, conflicts, all those things? I didn't want to give a straight answer because people can misunderstand me to be indifferent to the world.
Yeah.
I'm not indifferent to the world
Hmm.
because there is nothing for me, nothing exists actually. Just
Hmm.
like now you have become very well aware that you are simply dreaming, and you know that you are dreaming. A dream is simply a dream, make believe appearance, but actually doesn't have any existence value. So, thus, the yogi is also very well aware this universe, or what you call it as universe, has only an appearance value and doesn't have an existence value. However, if somebody prays as a reaction to that, a yogi becomes compassionate. We can pray, yes, if there is peace, if all humanity can live in peace in consideration to each other, it would be wonderful. It is the same thing. But if the conflicts are happening, it is happening. So, like that, it's either of the things are not there in the mind. But I wouldn't say it as indifferent. But
Hmm.
if necessary, we can act upon to help somebody. Because many people come with some problems or some mental problems. They need counseling, they need some help, they need us to pray to the divine. So, like these things are all there. And we do it when some people come and pray to us, because either way I don't have any imagination. I don't have any imagination that somebody is suffering and they are praying to me and I am going to pray. These imaginations are there. Simply somebody prays and I pray. There is no I praying here, there is no somebody is praying to me. Means these things have been disappeared. This may appear very funny for people who are listening to this one, but this is very important. Say somebody comes and prays to me that they have a problem, and then I promise I will pray for you, don't worry, it will be all right. But
Hmm.
in my mind, I don't have that imagination cropping up that this person is praying to me. Now I have to pray for that person.
Hmm.
Once they have prayed to me and I have told, I will pray for you, they need to have faith. Then whatever a yogi has uttered, that will become an automatic divine activity, actually. That's why faith is very important, because I don't have any imagination that I am going to pray again. But prayer already would have been transmitted to the divine when we have told, because I don't have any imagination. So for now, only like this, only I am able to explain. More than this, I also don't know what else to explain of my status. It's very inexplicable.
So, Baba, if I'm understanding correctly, so though there is no individuality left there, and
Yes.
because you are praying, you're praying to someone else. If you're praying to someone else, then you become separate from that entity.
Yeah,
So,
there
am I?
is no imagination of I or someone else. Both are not there. That duality is gone.
The duality is gone, and again, that's one's existence of the consciousness is there, which is again pure and undivided.
Yes, it is there.
So,
So I have simply helped them to pray, so that if they are sincerely praying, their prayer to reach the divinity and the grace automatically flows. They also need to have that faith. If they don't have the faith, then that will not click.
so Baba, I means, if I'm understanding correctly, you said they have to have faith, but again, when we have faith, we have to have faith in something. What is means? Okay, on the individual
In
plane,
anything
then.
that appeals to you, but with an imagination of highest thing.
Mhm.
See, you see a rock. If you simply imagine this is only a rock, then your imagination is very limited, that size of the rock.
Mhm.
Instead, you imagine that to be divine, the
Mhm.
divine all pervaded. This rock simply symbolizes the divine all pervaded. That means your imagination increases to all pervadedness. Thus, it gets in connected to the divinity that is all pervaded. Thus, your prayer can be quite effective. It can reach that, and an automatic divine activity. Ramana Maharshi used to tell this automatic divine activity. He has used this terminology. That means when you touch it, it automatically happens.
So, Baba, you just said that automatic divine activity, and according to our scriptures, they say that the divine, which is again the supremely conscious one existence, and it's very it's vibrating. It's always there. It's always in existence. So, am I correctly understanding that
Yeah,
conscious?
precisely. I am trying to tell in between, I do not exist at all. It's long gone.
Mm.
Whatever it is that only.
So that existence is pure and alive. It's how I means I'm unable to put in the words that it's it's there all the time and in the purest conscious form.
Yes, that is the nearest word that we can imagine.
Mhm. And we pray. So Baba, sometimes it's very funny because if we relate to that, there is we can say the consciousness is the God only. Is that's the
Yes.
divinity consciousness and the God, and everything we
See,
perceive as a
concept of
con-
God is there as long as you have the concept of your individuality.
yes, yes, Baba. Yeah, and that's mind separate there.
Concept of ocean is there as long as you have the concept of yourself as the droplet of the ocean.
Yes, Baba. Yeah. So, uh, Baba, here one more confusion comes to me. So, if that undivided consciousness is there, and like you said, that as long as you are a droplet, but when the consciousness was pure, where is the droplet has come? Why did it has separated?
It never happened actually because
Mhm.
you are touching the highest truth. We usually don't talk this topic not to confuse people. Never really anything happened. Just like when you dream in the night times or when you go to sleep and dream,
Mm.
actually nothing happens. Simply an appearance. That is
Yes,
what is known as illusion. Brahma is the word
yes,
used. Brahma. It appears to be appeared. It actually nothing happened. Simply one single self exists in itself. These things can be experienced only when you experience samadhi state.
yes.
At that time, if I explain also, you will understand more. Till then, this thing sits as a reality. You as an individual, and you seeing a dream. So then you perceive that dream as a reality. So all these things, chain of actions go on, go on. Thus you
Mm.
trap yourself and bind yourself into these imaginations. So a yogi, by doing tapas, burns all these imaginations and has liberated himself from these chain of trapping. So this trapping is not there at all. So for him, if the I is not there, I dreaming never happened at all. This very complicated, it would appear to understand theoretically, but this is what
Yes,
the truth is. Only when you experience in that samadhi state, even in Yoga Vasistha also, Vasistha tells to Sri Rama, whenever he asked, okay, I understand everything is based on simply imagination technology, but how did this came into existence? Then he tells ki just now you are into imagination, that's why you will not understand. When your imagination stops and you get into that stage, at that time if I explain you will understand, or on your own you understand. This point Vasistha talks, if you remember, when you have read the Yoga Vasistha. In the same way, you have to experience, you have to reach the higher consciousness which has created this universe as an appearance.
Mm.
At that stage only this experience comes. Until then, it won't get in, penetrate into the mind or consciousness understanding, because mind is perceiving a smaller world, a miniature imagined world only.
So that
Question is
is
very
why,
high quality question. I appreciate, but understanding the answer is not easy.
yes, Baba. So it's this gives a beautiful meaning. What you just explained. So the universe expand according to my mind's capacity, which is again not separate from this universe, but again it appears only for the appearance. It shows that it's expanding or it's shrinking according to the my mind, the way it
Yeah,
perceives.
I remember some time ago, somebody wrote to me that Einstein has told when the universe expands with the something, I don't know what he told, the, because then I told when the consciousness expands, only the universe expands. Without the consciousness also expanding, the universe will not expand on its own. This is
Yes,
what I
Baba.
told. I'm
Yeah,
forgetting what Einstein told exactly. I don't know if you have read that one. Uh,
that Baba,
universe
you're
keep expanding, something like that.
expanding, but it's not the universe which expand, it's the mind or the consciousness expand, and it appears that is it's expanding.
Like in your mind is consciousness. As it spins and expands, the imagination story can expand.
Yes, Baba.
It can expand an imagination into 50,000 nautical miles of distance.
Mm.
It can show a magnified size of such a huge, whereas it can be split into a hair simply, just like that, the way that you
Yes,
perceive. That's when we
yes.
come back to the title of today's theme that you have selected very nicely, wonderful. Universe in a hair.
Hmm.
Okay, that is all.
But
It remains, but it can
yes,
magnify, split, and spread and spread and spread. That is the concept also that in some temples in India, if you remember, I remember
mhm,
having seen in Rishikesh long ago, two mirrors are kept one in front of the other. If you watch
mm,
inside the mirror, simply mirror after mirror, mirror after mirror, you cannot count even it. You go on seeing and it is appears simply. It splits. It's the same mirror. It splits into so many pieces and appears to be there perfectly. You
mm,
just remove one mirror, that oneness is there, then one single mirror cannot reflect anything. It needs an object to reflect. Then only it
yes, Baba.
reflects. So that is how the illusion, amazing, has come into theoretically that has come, which produces like this. That is what the Brahma concept, the one who creates but doesn't get involved into it. And that is the
Mm,
Brahma is the illusion. Such is the amazing thing. You trap yourself when you see this. After you imagine, you can be trapping yourself into your own imagination. You imagine an unhappiness and then you trap yourself into that unhappiness. Thus, you become unhappy just for no
mm,
reason. People may not understand now at this stage, but when you meditate and one day when you reach that state, Definitely you will understand.
Baba, I I understand intellectually, which is, I think it's purely your grace that I can understand intellectually. I have no experience, but with your answers and with your blessings, I can intellectually can understand that if you remove one means that one eye, that individual eye, when it's removed, there is nothing left,
Yes,
and the universe also disappears.
everything disappears. When the I is not there, for the I itself is not there, what else is there?
Yeah. So, Baba, sometime when we are, in our Indian or Hindu terms, we say that once the death happens to the body, nothing left. Means it's in a very crude way, because it's only the body again. The mind will come back again somewhere else. But when you say, when I am in a deep, deep sleep, the world disappear. So, because there is one no I, individual I-ness is there, that superficial I, which I relate to me as a individual being, is disappeared, and rest of the world also disappeared.
Yeah, as long as the I is maintained, the universe is also maintained. That's when
Yes,
we tell, when death happens, when the brain dies, if the mind is holding desires and imaginations, it spins and intensity of thoughts form. So, based on that, it gets to see its next incarnation. Next incarnation means itself being born,
mm,
itself having so many things before it is born, and a world, a universe, a parents, a sibling, or these things, that thing, that thing, many things of
mhm,
its own world. Everything it would have created with the power of those thoughts. It perceives, and it is there, and it gets trapped. To come out of the trap, it takes hell of a job to do tapas. Till then, the mind will never accept theoretically, even if anybody tells. That's when Einstein also kept quiet. He knew to reach that you have to cross the barrier of time and space, but that is not a thing to be demonstrated in a laboratory or proved in such a way. Only logically, individual experience. That is why a master talks only to that level which the students can understand. When the student reach that higher stage, then the master talks. If you remember, Ramakrishna used to take some of those students inside the room, and then he used to talk to them about the Advaita, the oneness of all
yes,
these things. He used to talk there.
mhm. So, Baba, ultimately, you said that the Ramakrishna used to talk. It comes to the point that the salt doll tried to measure the ocean and dissolve and become one with the
Yeah,
ocean.
that's what example he used to tell Ramakrishna. Saltdal, wanting to know the depth of the ocean, jumped into the ocean because there was no other thing to measure. Then it became one with the thing. It's like here, when you start meditating or doing tapas, you embark upon to measure the space. So you try to penetrate the space. In the process, you lose your individuality, become one with the space, and there is nothing left to measure at all.
Yes, Baba. Um, Babaji, one very last question, which is with the technique of Jangama Dhyana. Uh, Baba, when you say that, you just watch the front portion, so is it okay when I watch the front portion and I remind myself constantly that this is it, this is the point, with my conscious effort not to think means with this thought that it's my choice that I think or I don't think. I just keep watching in between eyebrows without imagination of. the space and location, and I continue
Yeah,
like that. Is it helpful somewhere?
yeah. I started teaching this one. Don't even bother to locate the in between eyebrows that I keep instructing. Just watch the front portion without thinking what is it. It is front portion or not portion, which one is watching, who is watching. Don't bother about any of this thing, just watch.
Hmm.
Anything appears also, don't think about them, just watch. So you must differentiate this. Your mind must be able to just watch and not think whether you are seeing something, whether you are having something in the front or not, what it is, because there is no target is given. You don't have to see anything else other than you.
Hmm.
Only a target is given if you needed to see something else other than you. Here, you are meditating to see yourself. That's why you are not told to see anything. Just watch. I
Thank you so
repeat,
much.
you are not told to see anything. Just watch.
Thank you so much, Babaji, for this beautiful question and answer session. I hand it over to Zen to open for the public. If
Yeah,
people
you
has any
asked very intelligent questions, and thanks to you for bringing
thank
out this. Hope the future generations seekers will be benefited by listening to this, which is being recorded. We don't know whether every day we will be able to discuss these things or not, but I hope the generations will benefited to understand the truth what we have told. Thank you so much. So we will go for we'll try to take some of the questions.
Yeah, thank you for giving us your time for this session. My question is on the lines of what has been spoken of, and could you speak a little bit about some people experience out of body near death, they have near death experiences, and other people have, but they come back into their body and then they describe the experience. And then other people have an intense religious experience where they suddenly realize, but they come back. And then the third type of experience is when people take psychedelic drugs and their mind, perhaps the mind is quietened, so they're a bit more expansive. My
When
question,
they take drugs, what did you say?
psychedelic drugs, so they're mind altering drugs, and their mind is perhaps quiet, so they are expansive for a short, few hours. So my question is, when this happens, the experiences are seen genuine, but can you speak more to it? Would people need to find a practice
Uh,
for this?
in my opinion, experience might look genuine, but not the actual truth experience. I'll try to tell. The soul coming out of the body, again going back into the body, doesn't happen at all. It's not like that. When a realization happens, you are, because individuality was an imagined one, simply that imagination needs to disappear. You are already one with the all pervaded. It is not, the soul is not an individual piece which comes out of the body and again goes into the body. So that is a hallucination that gets created to some people and they start believing by reading books or listening to some theories, they start believing like that one. Another thing that you mentioned of the drug, some drug that taking, the mind becomes quiet. What happens when any such drug is taken? It suppresses the brain's reflections. Brain is unable to reflect anything. It suppresses the brain's waves. When there is nothing to reflect for the brain, mind also has nothing to catch temporarily. So mind temporarily experiences a quietness and happiness. For this, people misunderstand that we get happiness when we take drugs like this. But what happens, unfortunately, mind itself doesn't get cleared of its habits. Then the brain starts losing its health by such intake of any such drugs. It will lose. So one is unable to live a normal life, and thus any such drug must be avoided at all times, must never be taken in any form for this purpose of obtaining peace or happiness. So that is very, very important. Meditation helps naturally to detach the mind from the reflections of the mind, and it helps not to become a victim of the mind. Brain's health is kept intact, it is not affected, but mind is withdrawn. Mind becomes aware, it does not become a victim of the brain's reflections anymore. It becomes a master of the brain. It learns to use the brain.
Hello, Babaji. Thanks for taking me the question. Incredible explanations. My question is, I would like to understand what is the relationship between our minds and the consciousness that you're talking about.
We call the same consciousness as mind when it is imagining, when thoughts and visions are there in the consciousness, to that we call it as mind. When the thoughts and visions disappear through the practice of meditation, mind regains its form of pure consciousness. That is the relationship. It is the same consciousness becomes mind, the same mind regains to become the consciousness. Consciousness is mentioned when the mind is pure and is not into any imagination. The same consciousness is mentioned as mind when it is into imaginations.
I see. So that's why we work on quieting the mind. So when mind doesn't have when there are no thoughts passing and such, then the mind becomes consciousness.
Yes.
Okay. And then the other somehow unrelated question is, what about all the physical space, all the time and such? How is that just our perception? How does this all relates to the consciousness and our mind and our perceptions?
See, the existence, appearance of this universe has happened due to a higher consciousness. You have not created through your mind, but simply you perceive. That's what we were discussing earlier. Whatever
Right.
you perceive, things appear to be like that. Like if you perceive this world as very good, this world appears to be very good. If you perceive this world as very bad, it appears to be bad. One man's food is another man's poison. That was what we were discussing. So just now you cannot handle this universe because this is not created by the small potency of what you have as the mind. This has been created by a higher potency consciousness. When you reach that, when you merge with that only, you will realize and become aware of the truth of the creation. So just now, you do not bother about the universe externally that is appearing. You just bother about the universe that is in your mind.
Just to quiet the mind and allow it to become the consciousness.
Consciousness. Then you will be able to go back to the higher consciousness and experience the further greater truths.
Okay, so does the time and space actually exist then?
If you imagine, it is there. If you do not imagine, it is not there.
but we experience it through our physical bodies. So and then I
Yeah.
had to be here at 1:30 at this time in order to join your session.
So
So
let it be. That's why I told by theory you cannot understand, this cannot be explained.
I see.
You are here, this body is here, that's fine. For now, let us keep it like that.
Okay.
At a higher stage, you
Thank
will
you.
know.
Thank you so
Welcome.
much. Very helpful.
Yes.
Thank you. I was relating to what you were talking about this morning. I was asked to give a talk last night about my furniture. I was commissioned to make furniture for a Jewish synagogue, and they asked me to come and unpack it. What are the ideas? Okay, so I showed up, and I was raised in the Jewish tradition, but I no more identify with being Jewish as a Vedantist or anything else. It's like the clothing, right? But I go and I give the talk. I didn't prepare, and the words are coming, and I'm watching. I'm watching the talk. The words are coming together beautifully, and the ideas.
Great.
But it's
Great.
almost as if I'm just a piece of the audience watching this whole thing, and it goes beautifully, and it finishes, and then I go. And then afterwards, the mind is always coming up with this idea around what you're talking about. Why this feeling of being dispassionate or not connected? So I felt there wasn't a feeling of engagement and there wasn't a feeling of being dispassionate, but the doubt arises like a dream. Why do I bother why would I bother to help somebody if this is all a dream anyway? And yet the world keeps asking me to do things. And if I don't think, all the actions take place beautifully. And then it's only later the mind comes in with these doubts. Why are you helping? Pain is an illusion. Whether you help somebody or don't help somebody, it doesn't matter in the end. And so sometimes it feels a little confusing, but only when I'm
No.
not happening.
Please pay attention now. Things will not work like that one. Like you gave a talk on the subject,
Yes.
and then you start thinking, "Ki, if everything is imagination, why would I give this talk?" Your giving talk was also an imagination, so you don't have to bother why you gave a talk. You gave a talk, that was imagination. Anybody getting helpful from that talk is also imagination. When everything is an imagination, you just don't bother about anything. You want to give it, somebody wants you to give a talk, you give a talk. Somebody doesn't want you to give a talk, don't give a talk. Just remain in yourself, thus, without bothering, why did I give a talk? Why did I not give a talk? Lose these dualities. That is what the oneness it is. The talk that you gave was also an imagination. To bother about that talk anymore. It's over. If somebody is benefited, it's fine. It's you don't have to imagine that you helped somebody to be benefited. Like we answer the question when a question is asked to me, I don't have the imagination that I am answering or you are asking. So the question of why I should answer doesn't arise at all.
Okay.
Just live in the world and don't have anything in the mind. Type.
Okay. Thank you.
Great.
I wanted to ask one thing. As you said that, as Einstein told that this universe expands or something. So you said that when the consciousness expands, so the universe expands. So whose consciousness is expanding? Is that God's consciousness that's expanding, or because God
So
is
God and
everywhere?
consciousness are not separate. Consciousness is one. This you will understand when you reach the samadhi state. The consciousness is not separate from God. God is the supreme consciousness is God actually. When that expands,
Namaste, Babaji.
yes.
Babaji, I have a question. when we see another one suffering, is it necessary to give our reactions like, oh, you're so in pain, or simply relaxed and just pray?
What you see in this world, if somebody is suffering, if we can talk something that is consoling them, means we have to show them that we care for them, we understand their suffering, then it can give some relief to them. So that is how we have to behave in this world. So without having any imagination in the mind, you can practice this when you practice meditation also. You can show you are compassionate. At the same time, you can remain unaffected by that. So that's what has to happen. If somebody is suffering, you can talk in a consoling way that can be helpful. But you don't have to go on imagining what you have to talk, what you are talking. So you just meditate and be in yourself.
Thank you, Babaji.
Welcome.
Pranam Babaji, very
Yes.
happy to have your talks. So I have a long question, Babaji. So there is a Lalita Namavali which says Jagrat Swapna Sushupti Nam Sakshi Bhutiye Namo Namaha. And I was wondering like how to be that Sakshi, like a spectator to all these things, right? I mean, all these three stages, and the great people like
Means
you.
when
Yeah.
you mentally do not get involved, then you can be a witness. Sakshi means witness. You
Okay.
get to see the world, everything. You also act upon, but mentally you don't allow it to play on your mind too much. So thus, if you practice meditation only, this status will come to you. Just be a Sakshi. That's why a yogi is who is a self-realized soul is known as a witness. Sakshi Bhava. That's what it automatically comes when you practice meditation.
Got it. So for yogi, Babaji, like how can you get a dream or get into sushupti and still be like a watching that sushupti and dream,
You
because
see,
you are always
a
active.
dream comes, how it happens, a little bit of consciousness is in touch with the brain. That's when
Okay.
this body is alive. So when that consciousness is in touch with the brain produces dreams. But the yogi is very well aware that this is only a dream. Even at that time also, he doesn't become a victim of that dream anymore.
Okay.
Just like he is well aware of the oneness of the self, he will be aware of the dream as a dream also. This
Got it.
stage comes.
So yogi never sleeps, Babaji, like us. They never sleep. They are always like
The body
in
sleeps, the brain sleeps because it is active in this world.
Okay.
But the yogi is always aware.
Got it.
That's what the
Got it.
Jagrat Swapna Sushupti, beyond that a yogi goes.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Yes, hi there. Thank you. My mind, or whatever it is now, is quite full of a lot of questions. But the first one is, I listened to what you said about seeing. When we're in meditation and we see things, we have to observe them.
Yeah,
And then-
you just
and
have
then-
to observe and don't think about them further.
Yes, but you use the words, we see the images, and then we observe them, and then we see them in a different way. What's the difference between the two seeings?
See is through the mind it appears. When it appears, the mind has to see. But mind should not think about it, analyze about it further. Then mind is going to create more and more thoughts. To stop that process only, we teach ki just observe, just watch. When you are just watching or observing further, you don't get engaged with those thoughts, then the thoughts will all disappear.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I do have another question. It's about the breath. You say that we focus on space, Akash. Can we use the breath? Because it seems to me that breath is the nearest thing that we have in our technology to attach.
Whenever the mind is restless, for a while you can use the breath. Take a long inhale and exhale for a couple of minutes, then the mind's restlessness is brought down. Then try to focus in between eyebrows on the Akash, what you are talking. So eventually that would be better. In between, you can keep taking the help of breath. Whenever the mind is restless, there is no harm.
Okay, and when we are breathing, are we keeping the breath itself between the eyebrows?
The breath will go on in its place. When you concentrate in your mind, it appears as if it is here. So you don't have to bother its location. When you need to concentrate on the breath, you concentrate on the breath, then the mind's restlessness is brought down.
Is it our perception whether or not time and space are a prison or a portal to enlightenment?
Portal or please repeat, what did you say?
Well, I understand that we're limited by time and space. It's a creation or a projection, and then we get trapped in it. But can we use time and space to get out of the prison, or do we avoid that concept altogether?
So if you can avoid altogether, you can straight away go. But if you need, you can take the help, because just like you want to take the help of one thought to get rid of thousands of thoughts, or you just silently watch, you can get rid straight away without bothering about time and space at all.
Okay. Okay, so we take it out of the equation.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so great to see you, Baba. This is wonderful today. My question is about things that appear to be different, but actually aren't. So in the positive realm, you might have something like generosity feels like it's one thing, and acceptance feels like it's another thing, and kindness feels like it's another thing. But are they actually the same thing in a greater sense?
Yeah, they are all generated from the same source, the consciousness and the brain's reflections. So it is the mind which imagines about all these things. So it is the source is the same, but because of imagination criteria, it appears to be difference. They are all of the same source, one great.
Okay, so then the other side of that is if you have negative things that also seem like they're different, like anger, jealousy, hatred, prejudice. Are those also the same thing? And then there's a one further.
They are all same thing, because in this world, whatever you perceive, things appears like that. A certain thing you might perceive as positive, it appears to be a positive thing coming out, and a certain thing you perceive as a negative thing comes out. Like anger, you are talking, to some it might be a negative thing, to some it might be a very positive thing, who are fond of anger always. So one man's food is another man's poison. Food has nothing to do. What person likes that food, another person doesn't like that food. It's whatever you perceive, it appears to be so. This negative also is the same.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Babaji. I try and find your teachings online, but I'm not sure that they're correct, so I just wanted to confirm briefly. Is it true that you recommend that your devotees wear white daily and recite a mantra like Om Namah Shivaya when not in meditation?
No such imposition. We do not
No.
impose any particular dress. Just we initiate people into meditation. And on their own, if they want choice, they want to chant something when they request, we tell whatever appeals to you, easy to you. That also we do not impose any one particular chant. They can chant anything they want. They are totally free. We basically teach meditation. That is the basic teaching. So we insist upon sitting for 1 hour meditation and see in between eyebrows as I instructed today. That is all. The rest is all no imposition at all. We leave it to the choice of the individual.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pranam Babaji, nice to meet you. I'll just keep my question short, Babaji. So, I have a question. A general question related to the technique of meditation that you've taught. You taught. I'm practicing it daily, and it's really useful. So, I've practiced other techniques like the technique taught by Gautam Buddha, which is the Vipassana, and the Jangama Dhyana technique, which focuses the entire concentration on the Ajna Chakra. And
Yes.
some masters suggest to concentrate on the Anahat to calm the mind. So
Right.
all we do in any of these techniques is basically we only can do one thing is observation. Observe the sensations on the body, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
either it's Vipassana, where we observe the sensations from the head to toe, or in the Jangama Dhyana, we observe the sensations in
In
between the
between
eyebrows,
eyebrows.
or on the Anahat Chakra, even in that technique, we observe the sensation around the heart region.
Yeah.
So
The
how do
basic
the
idea is to silent the mind. So thus
so
all
how do
techniques
these
are all good, equally
okay.
good. Whichever easy you find it, you can practice. There is no harm and no conflict. They're all different techniques have been taught. So you should not analyze further. You silently watch. So then it will be beneficial. All these techniques are wonderful.
So how do all these techniques come together? Like once we reach a higher state, do all of them fall in place?
Silencing the mind. Once the mind is silenced, its attention turns to itself. It goes to the awareness of the self. That's what happens. The same result comes. It means you reach
Okay.
the same location type, same result. Your mind becomes silent. Just now it is aware of its imaginations. Its attention is all on the imagination. Those imaginations will all disappear. Then its attention turns to itself. Thus you become aware of yourself as that immortal soul, what we call it, Atman.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
So wonderful seeing you all. And it's time to disappear and say bye-bye to you all.